Episode 2, The Observer. The apartment looked like the inner world of its owner, only turned inside out. There was barely any light coming through the grimy, dust-covered windows, much like his clouded mind. Chaos reigned, consisting mostly of trash and old stains. "Come this way." The young man nervously swept newspaper clippings off the couch and onto the floor, exposing the worn, greasy fabric to his guests. But no one paid any attention to his lack of tidiness or the stale smells. All eyes were fixed on the wall, a reflection of the owner's true fixation. He's obsessed. The image of the woman, who now gently swayed in a noose outside the window, was frozen in time. Glossy photos captured the most unremarkable moments of her life. Here she was leaving her house. There she was returning, catching a cab, tossing a finished coffee cup into a trash bin. The quality lens had captured her smile, the faint wrinkle between her brows, the raindrops on her skin. Simple things caught under extraordinary circumstances. The man who had sheltered them was searching for something in the mundane that only he could understand. It was disturbingly eerie. "Buddy, if you were in love with her, I've got bad news for you." As this unexpected suggestion, the young man quickly lost all his stiffness and shyness. He stared at David and nervously adjusted his glasses as he replied, "In love? She's a demon spawn that must be cleansed from the earth immediately." "Well, thank God. In that case, I've got good news. The object of your surveillance is hanging under the windows of your house. No need to keep an eye on her anymore. She's not going anywhere." The shock that everyone was expecting didn't come. In fact, this information didn't seem to impress him at all. "You didn't just barge in here, into her house for no reason, did you? You know she's one of them." "If I don't take matters into my own hands, this will keep going in circles." She had to make an effort to look away from the pictures. "What's your name?" "Call me Falcon." Oh God, is that his code name? "Fine, Falcon. Tell me, what compelled you to spy on your neighbor? What did you know about the woman? What was going on in her apartment?" Let's go with what did you know about your neighbor? Or, well, the woman. "Her name's Rosalia. She's 27. Works as a receptionist for Malik Sinner." The young man stuttered and casually corrected himself. "Worked. She had no relatives. Her grandmother raised her, but she died 5 years ago. She liked pumpkin spice lattes and didn't eat meat. She liked to watch romantic drama movies, and though she wasn't in a relationship." Jesus, man, how much did you stalk this person? "She often had migraines, had to tests always come back normal. She watched Prawn twice a week, favoring the professor-student category with elements of decrophilia. Is a form of by tears or crying." Oh, interesting. David, stop laughing. Cassiel's just like, "What? Alright, I got it. Please don't continue." Oh yeah, no shit. "Fine, Falcon, oh, okay, we can ask all these. What compelled you to spy on your neighbor?" "My keen intuition for this kind of thing. When she moved in next door, I could clearly smell the stench of decay coming from her. Audrey was too embarrassed to point out the smell of his apartment, which seemed to have settled on her skin like an unpleasant film. David, on the other hand, proved far less tactful. With a wince, he remarked, 'Well, buddy, it doesn't smell like fresh mountain air in here either.' That's because I bring stuff from home from the dumpsters." The explanation was almost comprehensive. "Oh, well, that clears everything up." "Fine, Falcon, tell me, what was going on in her apartment?" She was running Satan's errands. Can we ask which ones? Falcon licked his lips and began to count on his long, thin fingers. Well, besides keeping company with some highly suspicious people, she brought home animals and slaughtered them at night. She constantly invited fortune tellers over. You stalking the fortune tellers too, are you? And she did God knows what with them. Her apartment alternated between laughter and howling. She brewed nauseating concoctions, took them to work. She roamed cemeteries at night and collected mold from graves. This seems strange and not religious at all. Maybe she was trying to cast a love spell on Malik? Where did you get all this information? For the most part, I found the answers to my questions in her trash bags. Dude, I don't even begin to ask. You wouldn't believe how much you can learn from about a person by rummaging through their waist. I can even estimate how heavy and long her periods were. Oh, Lord. Incredible. God damn it, David. That's an understatement. I also eavesdropped on her from when she was home. Oh, and I managed to hack into her browser history. Oh, and of course, good old-fashioned surveillance. Did she really not notice? Or maybe she enjoyed it. Who knows? That's certainly creepy. But it's useful for us. His behavior is inexcusable, but I feel sorry for him. I don't know about the feeling sorry part. I'm gonna be honest with you. Alright, so it certainly is creepy, but his information is certainly useful for us, so let's go towards that. To be fair, he wasn't entirely wrong. She did worship the beast. She was also absolutely terrified of her boss. The amusement finally vanished from David's face. He looked at the young man with curiosity and seriousness. How did you come to that conclusion? Well, she went out of her way to hide her failed tasks from him. She replaced human blood with animal blood. She dug through cemeteries for bones. She didn't have the guts to kill a person. She even burned letters that she couldn't deliver to their recipients. Letters. What letters? Falcon rummaged through the table, littered with receipts, torn pages, and he pulled out charred scraps from the mess. The contrast between the meticulous way he sorted evidence and the chaos he lived in was striking. Audrey reached for the neat bundle of burned letters and envelopes. Burned letters, let's take a look. Of course, you can't find a full address on these scraps, but I managed to piece it together. What's at that address? A monastery. Old, closed nuns wouldn't let me in. Even though I told them that I was trying to save the world from the coming of Satan and was living next door to one of his followers. Maybe they didn't hear you. Maybe. Anyway, I didn't smell that musty stench there, so I didn't force my way in. I think the devil wanted to tempt those nuns. Cassie Yale took the address, which was written on a piece of paper from the apartment's owner, without saying a word. Sure, take it. I got plenty of copies. I always make 5 or 6 copies of every piece of information. Thanks for your time, but I'm afraid we have to go. As if finally snapping out of it, the young man jumped up. By the way, who are you, and why did you barge into her apartment? We're detectives, her friends, just passerbyers, detectives. We're investigating murders connected to your neighbor's boss. Goodness gracious, that is fascinating. I hope I was at least a little helpful. You smell of salivation, a faint aroma of rose oil. Thanks. Not you, her. If you need any more help, find me. I'm willing to do anything. Audrey nodded, uncertainly. We could bring him to Astrea right now. He'd fit in perfectly. Could we not? Before they left, she glanced at the horrifying wall. When the police come to question him, they'll change to possible murder. What do I do? Advise him to remove all the photos, do nothing. Advise him to remove all the photos because, yeah, let's be honest, a little creepy, my dude. Listen, Falcon, the police will come here soon, so you'd better take down all the photos of your neighbor. At least put them in a cabinet for now so they can't be seen from the door. As if not understanding why, the young man shrugged and said, "All right, good." Falcon didn't see his guests out or lock the door behind them. David decided to voice his general opinion of the encounter. Charming guy. Audrey didn't see anything charming about him, because it's fictitious bullshit. If he's hallucinating smells, he could be experiencing phantasmia or olfactory hallucinations. Well, either that or it's just another trick straight out of your world. No, it's not some kind of superpower. I think he's just a little odd. Some fanatic managed to learn more about this woman than we did. And don't be upset, Cassiel. If you'd rummage through her trash, you'd know just as much. To avoid running into the police, the group decided to leave through the back exit. The crowd outside was buzzing and growing at an astonishing rate. Every passerby felt compelled to stop and etch the memory of someone's demise into their mind, to later recount the story over and over in a voice trembling with excitement, and to sincerely believe that they had witnessed death with their own eyes that day, that they had managed to deceive the Reaper. He had passed them by, only brushing the hem of his long mantle against them. Some time later, we're heading down to report to Mikkel. Audrey decided to quickly wash off the dust and grime from Falcon's apartment. She grabbed the first outfit that came to hand, so as not to delay the others. I think this will do. Brilliant choice. Impeccable style. Skirt with a slit. Diva. Delicate green. All interesting outfits. Let me pick. Was a tough choice, but I'll go with the black one. You know, because it's black. Continue. Might stick with the same hair, just saying. You got to really sell me on the hair. Ooh, okay, butterflies. I kind of like it. Ooh. Oh, you had a chance to really blow me out of the water with red hair, right? With butterflies. That would have been amazing. But I'll actually go with this one. I actually do like the blue butterflies. Continue. Now, off to the meeting. They decided to leave for the monastery at dawn. Mikkel thought it would be a good idea to bring along the only woman in their group, so they decided to fly. All residents were rewarded with a free evening. As soon as Audrey stepped into the hallway, familiar hands caught her. David lifted her off the ground and spun her around into the air. Gotcha. Shush. Audrey was wide-eyed. She struggled to stifle his broad grin with her hands. What are you doing? Do you want the whole house to come running? David remained obediently silent, making no attempt to free himself from her hands, but his own continued their mischief. He scooped her up by the thighs and carried his prey into the room with the fireplace. He set her down on the soft rug and playfully leaned over her. Have you lost your mind? What if Somnus walks in? David silenced her worried whisper with a kiss. The demon's soft lips calmed her with a gentle, quiet tenderness. Audrey allowed herself to relax a little. Let him. We'll be lying by the fire chastely and watching the flames. He pulled away. He covered her shoulders with a heavy blanket, then pulled her close again. I want to show you that I'm not a pervert who only thinks about getting you into bed. Oh, is that so? So, I can't seduce you tonight? His eyes sparkled with a dangerous glint. Just say the word, and I'll start proving my virtuous intentions a little later. She pressed herself closer to him and shook her head. Sorry, bad joke. I'd be happy to spend any evening with you. As would I. The crackling fire was soothing. His quiet whispers mixed with silly stories, with heartfelt confessions. The evening flowed seamlessly into the night. Falling asleep in the demon's arms proved surprisingly easy. It seemed Audrey had never felt safer. Dawn greeted her in bed with warm rays. Even though David was no longer beside her, his scent lingered and made her awakingly, truly delightful. Before she went downstairs, Audrey thought that just a week ago, Fell would have kept her company. The thought that Fell might never return was difficult to accept. How could she set me up like that? All she wanted to do was talk to her to understand why she did what she did. Audrey gripped her phone tighter. She had little hope as she dialed Fell's number. The long beeps were interrupted by the lifeless voice of an automated voicemail system. Audrey considered hanging up, but for some reason she couldn't bring herself to do so. Struggling to keep her voice steady, she began hesitantly. Val. It's me, Audrey. She wanted to say that she forgave Phil for the betrayal, but deep down she knew that Phil didn't need forgiveness. She did what she had to do. Audrey held her emotions back and chose her words carefully. You've probably thrown this phone away by now, and this is probably foolish, but I don't know any other way to reach you. The time allotted for the recording was running out. She had to hurry. I'm not trying to ask you to do anything that could put yourself at risk. I don't want to play the judge and take sides. I just want to know that you're all right. I want to know how far you're willing to go. The recording was interrupted, but there was no dial tone. Instead, a quiet voice responded. I'll visit you soon, Audrey. You and the others. Is she going to show up here? Audrey dialed Phil's number again with trembling hands, but this time the lifeless voice of the automated voicemail system informed her that the caller was unavailable. God, what am I supposed to do with that information? I don't believe that Phil wants to harm us. Was wrong about us. She's an enemy. I guess I don't know her at all. I don't think her whole thing is malicious. I'm gonna be honest with you. Audrey couldn't believe that the demon was so obviously betray them. Could she be playing a double game? Audrey pursed her lips. She tried to think without emotion. She didn't hurt anyone during the battle in the church, and she wouldn't have told me that she was coming if she wanted to attack us unexpectedly. She's not our enemy. Her thoughts sounded convincing. Audrey believed them, or wanted to. Audrey gave herself time. She decided to talk to Mikhail about what she'd heard later. You want to trust Phil, your relationship has improved. I'll tell him when we get to the assignment. Or maybe I won't tell him at all. Sometime later. The stone walls of the monastery were covered in moss, soaked with the whispers of centuries-old prayers. The voices of hundreds of women reached this day through space and time, and creating a blessed atmosphere. The sanctity of this place was palpable in everything. Even the sea seemed to carry echoes of sacred knowledge with the salty breeze. I doubt they'll let us in. Audrey adjusted her uncomfortable, modest clothing. I forgot we were going to see the nuns. I should have wore something different. Anyway. Oh well. I hope my outfit won't offend the residents of this place. Yeah, no, oh well. Oh, we're gonna change our outfit. Okay. Again, okay. Well, she did say modest outfit. Modest. Floor-length skirt. It's actually very pretty. Discreet. So only 3 outfits. We've got modest. Ah, I really dig the white, but it's black. Leave me alone. Continue. David and Cassiel split up to explore the grounds. Mikhail and Audrey stood by the path leading to the main entrance. We need to think of a convincing reason for them to come out to us. Like, you could admit that you're an archangel, of course, but I'm afraid they wouldn't believe you. He'd probably have to show himself. Mikhail smiled at her. We're not the heavenly beings they pray to within these walls anyway. If they knew the truth about us, they might stop believing in God altogether. Or perhaps they'd find themselves a different one. Fortunately, they didn't have to make up a reason for the doors to open for them. Dark silhouettes of the monastery's inhabitants appeared in the distance. Not noticing the strangers, the women abruptly changed their route and headed towards the back courtyard. Only one figure moved towards them. It's probably the abbess. Me over here going, what? I don't know what that word means. A young woman with pleasant features approached them. She greeted them with a soft smile. Romance club, this would have been your thing to pop up a thing at the top. But the severity of her gaze prevented them from relaxing. The nun was on her guard. Good thing we sent Cassiel and David away. Yeah, this doesn't look like an ominous Resident Evil game. Good afternoon. Her voice was warm and melodic, but there was a commanding undertone. Good afternoon. Mikhail placed his hands on his chest and bowed slightly. The woman looked them over discreetly, trying to figure out the reason for their presence. How can I help you? We're looking for information about a boy who lived here a long time ago. The nun didn't look offended, but the warmth disappeared from her voice. This is a women's monastery. There are no men here. I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about a child. He's practically accused them of breaking their vow of chastity. Look, this was a long time ago. This is very important. We're not saying that one of you was his mother. Okay, This is very important. The boy grew up and left behind a very controversial legacy. Those words had an effect. The nun flinched, almost imperceptibly. The abbess pursed her lips as if withholding secrets. She won't tell us anything so easily. Mikhail wasn't about to plead with her. He took a step closer and looked into her eyes. Fear flickered in them for a moment. This man sends letters to your address, but no one picks them up. Why? Her expression changed. The nun said, Because everyone who knew him personally is already dead. And we don't want to be next. I see. Will you tell us where this child came from and where he disappeared to? The woman nodded and closed her eyes for a moment to gather her thoughts. Audrey heard the entire story, in vivid detail, imagining the characters as if they were right there in front of her. His mother crawled to a monastery in the dead of the night decades ago, tortured and barely alive. There was so much terror in her eyes that none of the nuns dared to ask what had happened to her. Her body was covered in horrible wounds, but the women couldn't look away. She was so beautiful. It seemed as if someone had tried with all their might to disfigure her, to rob her of her beauty, but they had failed. "Please, let me come to God." That was all she said. Who could refuse her? And he thought she would die by morning. But she didn't. In fact, months later, she brought new life into the world. Her labor was agonizing, her cries were gut-wrenching and almost animalistic. It lasted for over a day. But the Lord seemed deaf to our prayers. She suffered so long, so terribly. Only when she began to beg God to take her soul did the ordeal finally end. The mother cried all the tears and absorbed all the pain, because when the boy was born, he made no sound. "Is he alive?" She has, are those lightning bolts to her face? It looks weird. Anyway. She didn't take him in her arms or give him a name. The nuns took pity on the unfortunate ones and allowed them to stay. But the older the boy grew, the more they regretted their decision. They had angered God, and he abandoned this place for many years. "How did you get here?" "Oh, okay." He spoke little, but always listened intently. He was always close to the tragedies that became more frequent after his birth. The first woman hanged herself from the very tree we are standing near now. The second threw herself into the well. The third slit her throat. The fourth walked into the sea one day and drowned. The women feared an ill fate and begged the abbess to cast those bringing a misfortune out. Then the fifth sister hanged herself in the cell. Only then did the abbess speak to the boy's mother. Her little son was always near the places where these young women met their ends. And when the mother and child left, the death stopped. I managed to learn some interesting information. It seems like a silly legend now, and frankly, I used to think so myself. I believed it was just a way to protect us from worldly desires. But then one day we received a letter. The sender asked us to give it to his mother. Inside was a picture of that very boy. What happened to his mother? She took her son and left. Sometimes they were seen near the house on the mountain, but those witnesses have long since grown old and returned to God. Could she still be alive? Abbess threw up her hands. No way, it's been so many years. People don't live that long. Okay, how many years are we talking, ma'am? Miguel thanked her for her help. He watched the abbess with a thoughtful gaze as she walked away. Do you think his mother is still alive? Either way, we should check the house. Audrey agreed. She obediently followed the archangel. The dilapidated structure looked as if no one had lived there for decades. A sagging roof, rotting planks. It was in total disrepair. The door seemed more like a decoration than something with a function. It almost crumbled to dust when he touched it. Audrey doubted that any remnant of the past could remain in such a place. But she was wrong. The past emerged to meet them as soon as they crossed the rotting threshold. A fragile figure appeared out of the darkness. Okay. Audrey didn't even have time to be frightened. All of her feelings were replaced by a single emotion: astonishment. Mikhail recognized the house's resident. As it turned out, in a way, Audrey was already acquainted with her too. Astrea. I'm sorry, a what now? 4-star. Seemed a little short. And I don't mean in stature. Alright, so we got 2 faith, 2 skepticism, 3 reputation, diamonds. Alright, so pretty much this book is completely caught up now. So the app will be updating here in just a couple days. So do keep that in mind. So stay tuned for episodes then, episode 3 and beyond. So without further ado, please make sure that if you did enjoy this content to like, share, and subscribe. As you can see here, we now have 5 books we've completely caught up on. And right now I'm working on catching up on the rest. So, again, if you want to see more of this content, sorry, the screen bugged out. As you can see here, it's caught up. And we've got 5 books caught up. If you want to see more content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I hate when you play the thing at the end of the video to get your little 3 diamonds and then the screen bugs out when I'm recording. It just is annoying. But anyway, as you can see here, there's the other books that we're working on catching up on, right? Some of these are a little bit more older. Callie's got a few more episodes to do, and then we're completely caught up besides doing the prequel to it, right? Where the origin story of the whole thing came from. We've dipped into a little Arcanum, little Soulless, and then we've got these 4. By the way, there is a brand new book coming out here in a couple days, so I will be covering that when it comes out. Especially if you're interested, make sure to tune in for that. But aside from that, thanks for watching. Catch you all later. Peace out.